Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help ambitious private practitioners across the globe to brand themselves and grow their dream practices. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building ninja tips. Visit privatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and our signature marketing e-course. Here are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux.
Hey, Startup Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. We hope you guys are having an awesome day and are really excited for you to join us. We hope you guys joined us last week as we spoke to accountant Julie Harris on KPIs. And you're like, what is a KPI? KPIs are key performance indicators. And really the podcast was, what is it that you need to track to really have a successful business? So you're going to want to join us for this podcast as we talk really from the accountant's perspective of what you should, well, it's business and accounting, I would say, of what you need to be tracking to really have a successful business. So if you're brand new to us, we want to welcome you to the Startup Nation family. And we are just so happy that you decided to listen to our podcast. And we hope that you keep coming back. And as a new member of our family, we're into giving gifts, and we would love to give you guys a gift. And that is our A to Z cheat sheet, the essentials for building and growing your dream practice. Head over to privatepracticestartup.com, look for the resources tab, and there you'll see the A to Z cheat sheet, which also comes with 5 days of practice building email. So that's not something you just want to delete out of your email box. There's kind of some gold in there. So you want to not only open it, read it, but you want to take action. And that's us extending our hands to really help and support you in your private practice. Today, we're talking with Beth Alford of Alford Creative. And we're going to be talking about 3 ways your content can ease the stigma of therapy. And we all know that a lot of times it takes a lot for people to get into therapy, and there's always a stigma attached to it. And, I just had this conversation with a new couple yesterday. They were feeling like, oh, things have to be really bad if I'm in therapy. And I totally reframed that for them. So I'm really curious as to what Beth is going to share with us today about how your copy can really help ease that stigma. So let's give a warm welcome to Beth. Hey, Beth.
Hi. Well, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
It's great to have you here. Have you. So before we dive into your topic, just a little bit about Beth. She owns and manages Alford Creative, a great little creative agency based in Austin, Texas. They love helping therapy practices become the go-to authority in their local market with their simple formula. Authority plus reach equals impact. And on a personal note, she loves live music, a great cab, and road trips. And it was funny when I read that before we hit record, I'm like, a cab ride? And I was like,
oh, come on now. Come on now. You're becoming a wine snob. It is channeling those vibes to you. You should do this.
It's a little long day. I've had supervision this morning, and this is our 4th podcast, so I think I'm a little brain dead. But I have to know, Beth, and Kate has to know too, what is your favorite Cabernet?
Oh gosh, well currently it's one, I have so many, but I think, well, just right off the shelf, like an under $20 bottle of J-Lore, it's just, you can't beat that. Mm-hmm. But I have some local wineries in the Fredericksburg near Austin area that I've been exploring and loving. So yeah, just
awesome.
Too much wine, so little time.
Exactly. The more you know about wine, the more you realize you don't know anything. There's so much more to know. And I just learned that in Texas, there's this amazing wine country that's right next to Napa. I guess Napa is like the top, and then Texas. Who would have thought?
I know, who knew? And that's funny about there's so much wine. I decided a long time ago that I couldn't conquer Europe and the United States and South America. So I decided to focus on an American wine. So yeah, I started in Sonoma, and then Texas is booming. So if you ever want a little road trip, it's right near Austin. Come visit me and come check out the wine country.
Awesome.
That's cool. I didn't know that. Now I know, and I'm sure I'll land in Texas soon. I was way over in Houston, but I'm sure I'll be back soon. I actually really like Texas. I've been to Dallas, Houston, Austin. Really nice place.
Yeah.
So welcome. And so Beth, I'm just wondering, how did you get started in the field that you are today?
Yeah, so I've been in communications most of my adult life, and then also organizational development. And I watched digital, the communications go from, I started out as a freelance writer, and then as it moved through everything became digital, and I was fascinated, and I realized I had a little bit of an aptitude for tech, and I just learned how to do all the things. And then my last job before I started out on my own was with an autism provider. They have a developmental therapy. And so I just fell in love with working with therapists. And so that catapulted me when I decided to create my own thing. I knew it was going to be communications, and then I knew it was going to be therapy practices because first, they're mostly female. I love men too, but I just love working with females, right? So, and helping them succeed. And I also knew that it was a big gap because the therapists I talked to, PhDs who'd had one semester of how to grow a business, right? And
if they had one semester,
if they were lucky,
class,
exactly.
Yeah. So I knew it was a gap, and I knew I could help fulfill it. I think I put in my original notes to you guys, I really am fascinated and tormented by the statistic that 8 out of 10 businesses fail. They're not going to be here in 2 years, and the helping professions are the same, and that's such a shame with all the great work. So it's kind of my mission to help that, and this is my little way of helping that out in the world. So.
And that's awesome. And we all have our own little niche in our way. And Kate and I very much believe the same, is that, we say that we don't fulfill our mission unless we help really keep therapists in business. And that's why we're a bit bonkers when it comes to marketing and really growing a business, because we know how valuable therapists are in the work that they do. And they need to stay in private practice, not go into hospitality or something else because they got annoyed with the field. So we hear you there. And we appreciate you being part of the crusade to keep this happening and make it happening. Awesome. Very cool. So I am really curious about your topic because Kate and I are always talking about marketing and helping therapists create copy, but I really like the spin that we're taking today about utilizing copy to really reduce the stigma of therapy. But before we dive in, I just want to make sure we take a quick break for our sponsor. So let's do that now. The work you do as a therapist is important, and your private practice deserves the best website possible to allow you to see more clients. As an industry-leading company that makes marketing simple for therapists, Brighter Vision understands exactly what it takes to help your practice grow to new heights this year. Brighter Vision's team of developers will work with you to first understand your business and what makes it unique, then use this information to build you a website centered around attracting and retaining your ideal client. Better yet, there's never been a more affordable time to get the website your practice deserves. During the entire month of January, Brighter Vision is running its biggest sale of the year. Until the end of the month, pay no setup fees and get your entire first year for just $49 a month. That's a savings of over $200 on your first year with Brighter Vision. To take advantage of this offer, simply go to brightervision.com/PPS. Again, that's brightervision.com/PPS as in private practice startup.
If you're in private practice, you wear a lot of hats. And some of those hats are totally great, but some like filing taxes and running payroll, for example, not so great. That's where Gusto comes in. They make payroll, taxes, and HR actually easy for small businesses like your private practice. Fast, simple payroll processing and benefits and expert HR support all in one place. Gusto automatically pays and files your federal, state, and local taxes so you don't have to worry about it. Plus, they make it easy for you to add on health benefits and even 401ks for you and your team. Let them wear one of your many hats. You have so many better things to do with your time. Listeners get 3 months free when they run their first payroll. Try a demo and see for yourself at gusto.com/PPS. That's gusto.com/PPS.
Let's dive in, Beth.
Awesome. Where do we want to start?
Wherever you take us on the journey.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, so I got interested in this topic when I was doing research on behalf of my clients and researching pain points, and came across a little statistic that was interesting to me, and that's that it was a 2017 survey that 69% of Americans claim to have at least one mental health issue affecting their well-being, but only 29% say they're embarrassed. They don't want to talk about it. And even to professionals, they just can't cross that hurdle. I think there's probably some research out there too that each generation is getting better. Mm-hmm. So I guess there's hope for, some of the younger generations, but it's still a pretty startling statistic, right? That you've got this massive amount of people that need help, but they're too embarrassed. And so I just was interested in that as a way to help my clients build out their content marketing. So really this is what we're talking about today, is content marketing, which is a foolproof way to gain what you want in the world, right? In your business world, gain rank. It's just a foolproof way. But another thing that I've noticed with some of my clients is the hesitancy about marketing. And marketing still has that yucky feeling to it, that word.
Totally.
And to be able to connect it to a real mission like this idea of therapy, of stigma has helped, right? So to build out a content strategy around this idea that you are helping reach people where they are and educating and hopefully changing the perceptions around these issues in the general public and normalizing these things. So I liked both of those things and how they converged in this idea of content marketing.
It's so interesting that you bring up both sides, because from the client's point of view, yes, unfortunately, there still is a stigma. It's decreasing slowly over time as therapy becomes more mainstream, and all these celebrities and people are sharing their stories, and it's really like therapy becomes a thing to celebrate. It becomes normalized. And on the flip side, for clinicians, there's a stigma against marketing. Right? So it's like the stigma on both sides. And so many therapists have this negative relationship to marketing. They feel like it's sleazy or salesy or icky or imposing and all of that stuff. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Maybe if you're going about it in old school ways, but new school marketing, it's more about just communicating and building relationships with people.
Absolutely.
And that's it. And really sharing your passion.
And your personal story, well, not totally personal stories, but really your authenticity, especially when it comes to therapists. And we talk about the world evolving in regards to stigma therapy, but also therapy has evolved extremely, just even in, I don't know, the last decade or even 5 years. Kate and I constantly talk about there was none of what we do today available when we started private practice. And that was, just a decade ago. So it's really cool to watch it evolve, and really needs to continue to evolve.
So this is like my biggest herald, I guess, to my clients always, is this idea of marketing is not, let's just set aside that word, right? It's about connecting and getting your stuff to the world, right? The world already is just so full of noise, and it's so full of the online world, so full of the anger and all the stuff that we see all the time that we don't like. And so we need your audience. Those are the people we need out there, right? Spreading hope and clarity. So forget marketing for a minute. Let's just talk about how to do that. And then it takes the scary away from marketing and the feeling that it's not something you want to do. But as a side bonus, this idea of this marketing, this content marketing, you're going to reach people. But there really is a side bonus that if you learn to do this well, you have an opportunity like never before to gain page rank. So it's like this amazing little thing that happens. But I really did want to say, I think a lot of people, even if they're savvy about Google or things like that, for a long time, people just kind of thought, well, they could never rank because there are all these the big boys out there doing the thing. But we're in a really amazing time with ranking in Google, because Google is becoming laser focused on local. So your audience right now, wherever they are locally, really has a chance to rank for some of these. I'm not talking about the keyword for therapist in town, right? I'm talking about I'm depressed, what do I do? All these keywords, right? Because Google is trying really hard and we'll just get better at it, to deliver local content. So they actually have a chance to outrank the big boys because in their local market. So it's really pretty fascinating. But this idea of reaching people where they are, and then building trust, like you said. We all know the statistic, 4 to 5 pieces of content people want to see before they ever engage. And I don't have a statistic for this, but I'm imagining if you're already reticent, if you're already embarrassed, it's going to be even more. May take a little bit longer to build trust, but the average person online, it takes 4 to 5 pieces. So if you're not out there giving that content in your local market, where are they going to turn, right? They're going to find it somewhere. But this is such an ability to help. When you think about this audience, this person that's got an issue, whatever it is, and they're just nervous, I guarantee you they're out there searching, right? They may be. I think actually the anonymity of search makes it a even more brilliant way to reach people who are reluctant to reach out, because they are online. Mm-hmm. It's just almost guaranteed that they're out there seeking relief. They are Googling their pain point.
Absolutely.
So that, whatever your specialty, you can tailor your message to that pain point, to their issue that they can't get on the phone yet and call. So, everything from marital problems and addictions, even people who may have reached out on their child's behalf. Maybe they have a child on the spectrum and they're dealing with that, but they have their own shame around that, or their own whatever around that. Maybe it's affecting their marriage and they're ashamed of that. So, what I want to encourage your people today is let's figure out content to that person that's keeping them up at night, and reach out to them and connect where they are. So
I'm really curious, as I know what Kate and I do and really try to helping reframe the relationship to marketing. Well, you said, you like to invite therapists to think of it as a way of connection. So what else do you kind of help them to see that as a form of connection, which then begins to switch their relationship with marketing?
Well, I mean, just everything. They do such amazing work in that room, in their office, right? But I've noticed some are reluctant to be seen outside of that. So we are in a different world, and it's not always comfortable or pleasant, to step out of ourselves. But it's all about connection. It's all about building trust. I mean, even the old, we do business with people we know, like, and trust, right? We're going to go to therapists we know, like, and trust. And in today's world with the celebrity culture and lots of people out there that are maybe a little more slimy, or we see that and we don't like that. We know it feels bad, right? And we don't want to be that. I don't know. I just want to encourage people to press into that, because they're the voices we need. Right? They're the voices. And if they're more reluctant, then I say press in even harder. Hey, listen, starting your business already took a lot of risk, right? It takes risk. It takes courage and guts every day. This is a little bit different kind of courage and guts. But it's just so worth it, because not only are you potentially reaching out and meeting a client, but who knows what that content can do, even if you never meet that person. And then if you share some of those things around on, your social media, changing perspectives, about, what it means to live with issues, right? I really answered your question.
Well, no, I mean, I really like that you said that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've ever really thought of it that way, as like your piece of content or a blog that you write, or even your specialty page can impact someone, and you might not even have a clue. And how important is that? So I love how you position it that way. And one of the things that Kate and I find with therapists is that, we have these awesome skills, and they usually exist between four walls with the client, right? And then we walk out of the therapy room, and what skills, right? And so one of the positions that we take is, like, therapists are primed really to be amazing marketers. And do you have conversations every day with your clients? Yes. Do you summarize and reflect and validate and empathize with them and talk about their pain and their goals? Yes. Okay, great. That's marketing. You know what I mean? Like, it's really
Oh my God, I love that you said that, because I keep a document on my desktop in the same way when I talk to my clients and they're having, like, I work through the issues with them. So I keep notes about, I didn't use their name, but I keep notes about, oh my God, I helped them with this thing, so that I know it'll help somebody else. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. These people are having amazing conversations. They're seeing results. They're seeing evolution. They're seeing breakthroughs. To keep notes about that and then package that up and show the world what can happen when you step into a relationship with another person that can guide you to a better place.
Right. And that's why we say, like, therapists are primed, because they are already doing those highlighted things that are required in copywriting and marketing. And it's very different than like a real estate agent or a CPA or a lawyer. I mean, we can teach them to do that, but they're not doing that validation and empathizing and talking about the pain points and dreams and stuff like that. So that's what we share all the time. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I know you had 3 specific ways that your content can help ease that stigma of therapy. So let's dive into those. What's your first tip?
Well, actually, I think it's about normalizing, right? So creating stories that normalize. We all hear it. We understand, online they want story, but that really is how you're going to connect. And stories of how others have, that offers hope, that people aren't alone, right? I think that's a huge part of it. And then things that bring aspiration and hope. You think about your social media, for example. Of course, when you think about content, we think about blogging, videos, YouTube, the different channels. Social media can have its own kind of content, or it can point back to this other stuff. But you can take this idea of connecting and reaching people where they are, and educating and normalizing, and put it in any of the different pieces using story. You think about social and using memes and strong CTAs to encourage connection. I also think another thing is just dispelling myths, right? This is a great way to dispel myths. And I actually think dispelling myths make great lead magnets. Because they're catchy and lead magnets are typically titled in a way to get people to click, right? It's a lot of times the lead magnet may be what come up on search if you've got a dedicated landing page for a lead magnet. So dispelling myths, because the myths are the things, and if we're talking specifically about stigma, whatever maybe specific topic you might think that person is dealing with, and then creating a lead magnet that hits that myth and says, nope, that's not really the way it is. Here's how it is, and then begin to build trust, through more follow up. I did want to just jump back a little bit and say, and I know you guys, y'all talk about blogging. Y'all do a great job of talking about some of these key concepts. But it's always good to keep remembering this idea that this just follows good SEO principles around knowing who your audience is and speaking to their pain points and getting into their world. So I wanted to encourage people. It may feel a little clinical, right? Or a little not clinical. So this is a bad word to use in this scenario, but it may feel a little rigid or like, your audience is so relational, right? And they do the relationship piece. So, but there are things, we need to do. Let's use these tools. We know people people predict, people do things online in a predictable manner. So we can learn about those things and then make sure that we are there to answer their questions and have content. So understanding your audience, we know they already know their audience. They know their pain points, but really put yourself in their head. What are they waking up at night on? And then do some research around those keywords. Go use your webmaster tools to find out. You can actually go in your webmaster tools and put in your geography and put in your keyword. It'll tell you how many people in your area are searching for a keyword. So let's say depression, you might put in a keyword. It'll tell, you can tweak it and get it till it's just right. And then you can write a piece of content on that is going to hit people in your area. I think that's super powerful.
Yeah. Share with us, when you said we know what people do online, it's predictable. What are some of the predictable things we do as humans?
Yeah, so we browse, right? And we search, we click, and when we click onto something, we have the statistics vary, but it's between 7 and 15 seconds when we're going to make up our mind to even go further. So since we know that, we know there's certain ways you build out a website, right? Y'all talked about this last week. Certain ways you can build out a website to make sure you hit those points. So that's a predictable thing. We know people prefer to have the menu done in a certain way because they want to be able to click in a certain way. So around keywords and things like that, we know they talk in a certain way. They talk in little phrases, but usually without certain words, right? So understanding some of those things, that would be a great show in and of itself, or some of these predictable ways that people click on just to know, so that so we're just using the tools that we already have, the resources to be smart, right?
Cool. Mm-hmm. And what's another one of the tips that you were talking about? So talking about telling stories to connect, share more.
So stories are just the biggest piece. I feel like you've got all your channels, and it can be. I know that often content marketing is it can feel overwhelming to people, but there's some little things you can do to make it easier. Like maybe if you are good at video, maybe just spending a couple minutes on a video and then taking that video and getting it transcribed, using it on your site as a blog, because we know Google doesn't read a video, but it'll read the words, right? And then putting it on YouTube, so maximizing that piece of content is a great way to think about it. But around this idea of building trust is also having a good bank of content to continue to nurture. So hopefully you're going to be connecting. So somebody clicks on your piece of content and maybe they get on your email list, maybe they don't, maybe they poke around a little bit. To have 4 or 5 pieces, they're going to speak to those same things. But if they get on your mailing list, to be sure you've got a drip campaign with more content around that same topic. And maybe for case studies. One of the things that mistakes people make with things like drip campaigns and the funnels is they like, feels like a bait and switch to people. So they'll have a piece of content and then they get dumped into a generic drip campaign and all of a sudden it's about something else. The idea is that the person clicked on that content because they are in need of help around that area. So to build trust around that area. So things like case studies are amazing in results like that. But also case studies are great but not really the big clinical case studies. I'm talking about just highlights, like, there's this person with this problem and here's how we could help them. And here's how it wasn't scary. So all these ways to normalize things for the general population, but also to make people feel like it's okay. It's not just me. So I would say too, another thing is having lots of content. So it's not just a one-off, having plenty of examples, and you can kind of automate that so that again, keep it small, keep it simple. It's another concept that's so important is you don't have to have this, massive production. just do one thing at a time and just be authentic. That's what the world's crying out for, is authenticity.
Oh. You said it. Our authenticity cowbell.
It's my favorite word in marketing. Oh my gosh.
Awesome. It's funny, when Kate and I started podcasting, like every podcast had the authenticity word in it. And I don't even know how we got started ringing the bell, but it hasn't been said as often, but you said it. And I was like, oh,
awesome. Thanks. I'm glad you caught that.
Gave you ringing the authenticity cowbell, which is so, so important. And you're right. The world is really crying out to connect. One of the things that I really like that you said, Beth, and we call this a ninja tip, is to utilize case studies in that drip campaign. So a lot of times, we'll have therapists like reach out to us and say, "Oh, should I have an email list and whatever?" And sometimes I think therapists, they'll see like one aspect of a system, right? It's like, okay, it's important to have an email list, but how are you getting the emails? Because and I've seen this before. Still nowadays, it's like, well, sign up for a newsletter. No, people aren't signing up for newsletters.
No, definitely not.
That's the most unused thing on your website. Just get rid of it. It does not convert. It does not convert.
Right. But a lot of times, and I hadn't thought about that way for therapists, right? It's like, okay, well, that makes sense for some type of cheat sheet. I like dispelling the myths. Those things are cool. But then put them into this funnel or this drip campaign about sharing stories and how they can help. And really, you're nurturing them to prime them to continue to position yourself to be the therapist. And then obviously you're going to have some type of continued follow up to continue to engage them. But that's a really great ninja tip to utilize for therapists, because, I've been kind of like thinking, again, it depends on the niche and the specialty of how to use that stuff for a therapist. Because I can go into a whole bunch. I'm not going to go into my whole marketing tirade.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. In terms of using case studies, we have to make sure that we're attending to the ethics and not disclosing too many details about who the case study is about, or disclosing a name or anything like that. So details need to be changed, or it could even be a story that you went through that you wanted to disclose and share how you were able to overcome something, and that's why you're so passionate about being able to help people in that particular area. And if you do use past clients as case studies, then do so in a way that you're not exposing their identity in any possible way.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking that goes without saying. That was my thought.
I think it's a good tip. It's a good reminder, though, because I wonder sometimes if people get shut down because out of that fear, right? Therapists are so aware of their licensure requirements, and and I think there's a lot of mystery about how does it fit into the online world these days. So I think that's a good reminder, and continue to have some resources around that to put them at ease. Maybe they're afraid to blog because they're going to say the wrong thing, or they're afraid to, right? I mean, we had a client not long ago that got in trouble with Google, with her Google ads, because, Google's changing all the time. Facebook's changing every day. You can't say certain things anymore. You can't promise certain things anymore. And so I think sometimes it shuts people down. They're like nervous to even, well, can I share anything?
Yeah, we definitely experienced that when we launched our marketing e-course, and in our copy, we were kind of like writing like, so-and-so went from this many clients, and like, nope, can't say that anymore. You can't promise results. So yeah, that can get a little tricky. But Beth, thanks so much for joining us today. What would you like for people to take away from your message?
I just think that the online world needs their voice. I mean, I said it once, but it's really so important. If you're hesitant to blog, or maybe marketing feels gross, remember that, you're here to change the world. It's a way to do it.
Nice. And I know that you have a giveaway for our audience. What is that?
I do. So just in line with this whole topic of content around pain points and needs, I wanted to offer something that would help your listeners when they have to go think about making those decisions. So a free downloadable worksheet that can guide them through the 5 steps to create their own funnel for their therapy practice. That's another term that people probably are gross about, but hey, it's a system. It's all it is a system to get people to make you them be aware of you. So just think of it that way. It'll have all the questions you need to ask to create it for yourself, all by yourself. I'm a big fan of those kind of resources, and I know you guys are too. So it just brings some order and focus. So
nice.
alfordcreative.com/offer.
And we'll put that on our show notes page for easy access for you guys. So thanks so much, Beth. I really appreciate your tips on how to reduce the stigma of therapy really through really good quality content. Yeah. We hope that you guys join us next week as we dive into utilizing really systems on how to create a dream lifestyle. We talked to a psychologist, Damien Adler, who's an Australian. He joined us at 3:30 a.m. to do this podcast, which was kind of cool. And we really talk about getting unstuck from working in your business to working on your business.
Yes, let's take a moment for our Startup Nation superhero shout out. This comes from Casey Pennington. We actually had Casey on the podcast a little while back, and she talked all about systems and processes that you need to have in your practice. So it's been like System Talk Day, and I know you guys are getting the podcast kind of batched out, so you'll hear us talk about systems a lot. We love them. Casey says, Kate and Katie are amazing. I had the opportunity to be a guest on their podcast. It was a blast. These ladies are the real deal. Right back at you, Casey. Thanks for all you do to support the mental health professionals in private practice. We love it, and we look forward to meeting her at the Not So Typical Psychotherapist Conference Round 2. That will be, it's more than a conference. It's like a movement. It's so True. Cool, you guys. And it will be in our backyard in South Florida in May 2020. So if you have not registered for that, you definitely want to. We'll put the link in the show notes as well for this episode. And if you guys are loving these episodes, subscribe, rate, and review. Please send us your feedback in terms of a Google review or also Facebook, or just send us an email. Let us know what topics you would love to hear. And we just want to make sure we're providing content that's super on point with your needs.
And we want to invite you to join our community of growing therapists, 7,000 plus all over the world. So look for the Private Practice Startup group in Facebook, and we'll see you guys there. So as we say, always our sign off is thank you for allowing us to inspire you from startup to mastery. Have an awesome and amazing day, Startup Nation. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.